Hello everyone, I hope you are enjoying the GSA SmartPay forum so far. My name is Jolene McDonald and I work for the Center for Charge Card Management. Today we are going to learn about all the strategic payment solutions that are offered in the GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract and see how your agency might benefit from utilizing these solutions. Today we are going to discuss some things to think about when determining how to best use strategic payments within your agency. We are also going to go over the three main areas of strategic payments, which are card not present solutions, the GSA SmartPay Travel Tax Advantage card offering, and ePayables solutions. Once you learn more about these offerings, we will talk about next steps you need to take to implement the solutions within your program. Many agencies are extremely well-versed and efficient in running their charge card programs. We have been around for over 20 years after all. Despite all of that working knowledge of the program, many agencies still do not know or are not taking advantage of the wide variety of payment solutions that are available through GSA SmartPay. Let's think through some of the below questions. Do you see room for increased payment opportunities within your agency? Are there situations where a physical card cannot be used? For example, do you have cardholders in remote locations purchasing from vendors that don't accept cards? Are your agency's payment solutions being used effectively and efficiently? Are you maximizing the use of payment options when making payments for products, services, or travel? Do you use a GSA SmartPay payment solution for qualifying contract payments? Have you done more research into the percentage of contract payments being made by a GSA SmartPay payment solution? Have you looked into ways to move contract payments over to the program? Do you use GSA SmartPay payment solutions for recurring payments, such as utilities or subscriptions? Recurring payments are one of the easiest ways to move spend through the program and increase refunds. Are you interested in increased refunds? I think any of us would definitely answer this one with a resounding yes. When asking these questions, it's important to remember to develop your payment strategy with a defined goal in mind. Think something like convenience check reduction or improved efficiency. We can often look to our personal life to understand the vast amounts of payment options in industry. How many of us use things like mobile payments, contactless payments, or biometrics when buying things in our personal life? We can look to industry trends to get some ideas for how to improve and modernize government programs as well. Industry trends such as contactless and mobile payments, as well as the increased use of biometrics for increased security, are important to watch as you think about next steps for your GSA SmartPay program. I would imagine that now more than ever, you are utilizing contactless and mobile payments in your personal life, especially with less in-person and on-site transactions taking place. In addition, biometrics have really started to take off in the industry. Many of us utilize things like fingerprint recognition on our personal mobile devices, including authorizing payments from our mobile wallets. Biometrics allow for an extra layer of security and continue to increase greatly throughout the payments industry. Now that we have thought through some high-level questions to ask when considering solutions, let's dive into all that the GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract has to offer your agency. First, we have the 4 card not present solutions, which are ghost cards, declining balance cards, single-use accounts, and mobile payments. The next solution we will discuss is the GSA SmartPay Travel Tax Advantage card. Finally, we will take a look at several potential ePayables solutions. A card not present solution is a mechanism to complete a transaction without having a physical card in place. As the payment marketplace embraces more digital transactions, card not present solutions are becoming more and more common. Both consumer and commercial entities have transitioned to making a large portion of their purchases online, as opposed to in-person at brick-and-mortar locations. Federal agencies are also following suit, and the trend towards online purchasing continues to grow. In addition, many commercial entities have implemented digital payment options at their physical locations. Card not present solutions available under the GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract include ghost cards, single-use accounts, declining balance cards, and mobile payments. These solutions are offered as Tier 1 products and services, or core products, under the GSA SmartPay Master Contract. This means that the contractor banks are required to provide the solutions at no additional cost to your agency. However, these solutions must be included in your agency's task order in order for you to take advantage of these offerings for your program. First up in our card not present solutions is the Ghost Card. A Ghost Card is an account number that is specific to an agency or an entity within the agency. The term card can be misleading, since there is no need for a physical plastic card for the transaction to take place. A Ghost Card is a centrally billed account, or CBA, that is designated specifically for a supplier frequently used by an agency and allows an authorized agency personnel to purchase from that vendor without having to use multiple cards or accounts. The Ghost Card is typically managed in a central location by one office or department within an agency. A Ghost Card allows for an agency to consolidate purchases to a single vendor under one account. This aids in reconciliation as well as transaction oversight. Agencies can use Ghost Cards for purchases such as booking airfare for travelers or paying utilities. It's important to note that accounts are issued in the agency or department name instead of an individual name, and they have different chargeback and dispute rights. Like the declining balance card, the Ghost Card has the option for use in the form of traditional plastic charge card. Agencies should check with their GSA SmartPay contractor bank for additional details if the option is included in the task order. Use of the Ghost Card improves operational efficiencies, reduces administrative costs, and allows an agency to earn additional refunds. As a best practice, agency employees responsible for Ghost Cards should work closely with the vendor to ensure that the vendor is capable of passing a minimum of Level 2 data in order to aid in the reconciliation process. For example, centrally billed travel accounts use the passenger name in order to aid in reconciliation. Let's look at a real-life example of an agency that utilizes the Ghost Card within their program. Under GSA SmartPay 2 and continuing into GSA SmartPay 3, the Department of State developed the Payment Card Program, which is a program that utilizes a Ghost Card for recurring purchases of supplies and services. The Department of State uses the payment card for purchases such as small package shipments, services, domestic and overseas utilities, and telecommunications. The account is limited to those vendors identified by the cardholder for purchases and payments. This means that each payment card account number is designated for one or more specifically identified vendors via their merchant category codes. For example, State may have a payment card account number dedicated to paying small package shipments through FedEx, UPS, and USPS. That card would only be authorized to make payments to those three vendors and set up to only allow purchases for items that fall under FedEx, UPS, and USPS's merchant category codes. The Department of State realizes some key benefits through the use of their payment card program, including a significant reduction in the number of invoice payments that need to be processed, a reduction in interest penalties and costs due to increased speed of payments, a consolidation of individual charges, and improved oversight and tracking of spend using online tools offered by the bank to track the payments through their payment card program. This is just one example of how a Ghost Card solution has helped an agency to gain numerous efficiencies, increase spend, and increase refunds within their program. Second on our list of card not present solutions is the declining balance card. Declining balance cards have the same functionality as a charge card, but the limits on the declining balance cards don't have to refresh each month. These cards have central liability and are paid for the agency, much like the purchase or travel CBAs. This type of card can be set for a specific purpose or a specified time period and with a predetermined credit limit. The credit limit can be reset as needed, set for a specified time, or can become inactive once the balance is depleted. A great benefit of the declining balance card is that it allows for greater oversight and control. Since, like a traditional CBA, an agency pays for the amount designated on the card as the card is depleted, not when the card is set up and limit designated, it would not be considered an advanced payment. Similar authorization controls such as MCC blocks can be used on these types of cards in the same way that they are used to control the traditional GSA SmartPay program cards. I do want to point out that although we categorize a declining balance card as a potential card not present payment solution, Your agency may want to use this solution in the form of a traditional plastic charge card as well. When might an agency consider using this type of solution? An example is if an agency has recurring payments with limitations, like on a monthly or quarterly basis, such as transportation subsidies. The declining balance solution offers several key benefits, including improved operational efficiencies, reduction in administrative costs, and the potential to earn more refunds. Let's look at a real-life example of an agency that utilizes a declining balance solution within their program. The United States Postal Services decided to develop the Uniform Allowance Program as a pilot program under GSA SmartPay 3. This program would allow employees to purchase their uniforms utilized for the job through declining balance cards. USPS set account limits in accordance with agency policy for each card, and each card refreshes annually based on the employee's anniversary date. USPS has already noticed a couple of key benefits from switching this program to a declining balance card. These include no more need to establish an entirely separate contract outside of the SmartPay master contract, which saves contract management fees. Also, they have seen an increased ability to have oversight into spend and increased transparency and controls. In addition, hopefully, USPS will recognize increased refunds by moving this portion of spend under the program. This is a simple example of how USPS recognized an opportunity to move spend in their program to realize greater efficiencies and refunds through the declining balance solution. The next solution is single-use accounts. Single-use accounts allow an agency to use a virtual account number for a single payment. The limit on each single-use account is equal to the single payment amount. An SUA can provide your agency with a precise set of controls surrounding a single payment. This includes establishing the virtual account number for a single dollar amount, a limited amount of time, MCC blocks, and account expiration dates. Agencies also have the ability to append accounting data for seamless reconciliation. Similar to the declining balance card and ghost card, agencies may consider using this solution in the form of a traditional plastic charge card. SUAs are a great option if your agency is looking to reduce the number of convenience checks being written. Using an account number one time increases the oversight into the payment data while also reducing the risk of fraud as compared to convenience checks. Single-use accounts are also an excellent choice for those looking to expand contract payments through their program. SUAs allow agencies to make invoice payments to a specific vendor for a specific invoice and include controls to ensure that that vendor only receives the invoice amount. Agencies can greatly maximize refunds by moving contract payments to single-use accounts. Use of the SUA can benefit agencies by providing better spend through MCC blocks and spend limits, better tracking of payments, increased payment security, increased card program spend, and reduction in erroneous payments. Check out our smart tip for SUAs. SUAs would make a great replacement for convenience checks and a great way to make contract payments. In what situations might an SUA be beneficial? Think about if your agency has a unique mission that requires the use of temporary employees, a large amount of part-time employees, or frequently has an influx of new employees. You may be among the many agencies that do. The Department of Defense, which constantly hires new recruits for active duty, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which hires temporary employees for the census, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, which hires temporary employees for emergencies such as natural disaster assistance, are examples of agencies that fall into one of these categories. Payments to these types of employees can be an administrative burden and carry a high risk of erroneous payments and difficult oversight. Now, what if your agency could use a strategic payment solution to lower those risks and streamline the payment process? SUA solutions would allow just that. SUAs allow agencies to establish one account for these employees that can include a large amount of controls, such as increased merchant category code blocks and established spend limits. Here's practical use examples to consider. A DoD agency sends new personnel to boot camp, where trainees may be provided a voucher to cover expenses during the training time period. Instead of a voucher, the trainees could be provided with SUA virtual cards to cover those expenses. This would allow for spending limits, increased controls, and increased transparency into expenditures. Our final card not present category to discuss is mobile payments. Mobile payments allow agencies to make secure payments via a mobile device at the point of sale. Essentially, a mobile payment is a version of a charge card loaded onto your mobile device, like a smartphone, so that the cardholder doesn't have to carry a plastic charge card. Mobile payment use has greatly increased in the consumer card industry and has started to gain traction in the corporate card industry. Many brick and mortar retailers accept some form of mobile payments. Under the GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract, mobile payments are offered to your agency at no additional charge. However, it's important to note that each agency must determine its own policies and procedures regarding the implementation of mobile payments. For example, your agency must determine whether mobile payments are allowable for CBA accounts or I accounts. In addition, it's important to review the types of mobile devices approved for implementation. If your agency provides employees with mobile devices, it may have a policy that allows for mobile payments to only be authorized on agency-owned mobile devices. If your agency does not provide employees with mobile devices, it may be determined that individual cardholders will be authorized to use mobile payments on their personal devices. Mobile payments are becoming increasingly popular in our everyday lives. I would guess that the majority of us have utilized some sort of mobile wallet or app to make payments in our personal lives. Think about what types of purchases you typically make. Things like grocery purchases, coffee shops, and restaurants are all basic examples of places we often pay through payment apps or mobile wallets. In fact, as the technology continues to grow, more and more vendors start to accept these types of payments, and usage will continue to increase. So okay, that's great for my personal life and morning coffee runs, but how can I use it in my agency? Remember, mobile payments are offered on all business lines. Some examples of use might be to have your IBA travel card included in a mobile wallet on your work mobile device. This way, when you go on travel, you can pay for things like your meals, transportation, and airfare with your mobile wallet. For the purchase card, you may want to consider having the purchase card on a mobile device for individuals that make a lot of payments at the point of sale location. This could be especially useful during emergencies when cardholders have to go to a specific location and make payments when existing infrastructure might not be available. There are multiple agencies currently exploring utilizing mobile payments under their SmartPay 3 task order. Mobile payments under Travel Card Program would allow for flexibility during employee travel. For the Purchase Card Program, they would allow for employees to make purchases at the point of sale without carrying a physical card outside of their office location. As agencies continue to explore their options for utilizing mobile payments, they will need to make decisions on how to implement in accordance with their agency-specific policies and procedures. Some agencies may only authorize these types of payments on government-issued mobile devices, while others may allow for payments through employees' personal mobile devices. It is important to check with your agency on how to best implement this solution. Now that we've introduced you to the card not present solutions in the GSA SmartPay, let's take a moment to recap ways these solutions can be leveraged. Many agencies have recurring payments for a wide variety of products or services, such as payments for rent, utilities, and contract payments, and much more. As mentioned earlier, declining balance cards can be used for recurring payments, as well as single-use accounts and ghost cards. Travel programs can benefit from card not present solutions as well. Agencies conducting operations outside of the United States or those with frequent international travel may experience issues with travel card acceptance in certain countries. Card not present solutions can provide a means to alleviate some of these issues. Here are a few examples to illustrate this. Prior to the traveler arriving, an agency could send the hotel necessary card information, perhaps an SUA, for payment directly to cover lodging and reduce time spent processing travel expenses. An agency has infrequent travelers or invitational travelers, such as a scientist invited to speak at a medical conference. The agency provides a declining balance card to cover costs associated for the duration of the trip. Or, an agency provides foreign nationals a declining balance card to replace disbursement of physical cash for expenses to maintain control of finances. The GSA SmartPay Tax Advantage Travel Card gives your agency the opportunity to gain tax exemption at the point of sale for rental car and lodging purchases while on official government travel. This is a new offering under the GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract, and it is offered as a Tier 1 item which means it is no additional cost to your agency. It is unique to the travel business line, and agencies can only utilize these type of cards if they are eligible or authorized to utilize individually billed accounts. The biggest benefit to the tax advantage travel card account is that your agency will not have to pay taxes at the point of sale for lodging and rental car purchases. This can save your agency a lot of money spent on taxes that would traditionally be charged to an IBA travel card account. The tax advantage travel card is set up as a CBA, but issued to an individual utilizing IBA procedures, such as creditworthiness assessments, which means it will still be issued in the individual's name. This allows the liability for the card to essentially be split depending on the type of purchase or merchant category code for the purchase. Rental car and lodging MCCs will be considered centrally billed and paid directly by the agency, and other travel-related expenses will be considered individually billed and paid by the cardholder, as done with a traditional IBA travel card. The card has its own unique card design, gray instead of blue, and also has its own unique bank identification number, so that vendors can clearly recognize that it is a government charge card at the point of sale. It is set up similarly to other travel cards for the purposes of reporting and management. However, agencies are able to request additional reports if they would like to by working with their banks to create ad hoc reports. As mentioned earlier, the invoicing is split between CBA and IBA charges, depending on the MCC. Individual cardholders will receive a statement of account for the IBA charges that they are responsible to pay. The agency will receive an invoice for the CBA charges that they are responsible to pay. Each entity pays their portion of the charges separately, while saving the agency money on taxes that are not charged on the CBA portion. Now let's take a look at an example of an agency that is currently utilizing the Travel Tax Advantage solution. Under the GSA SmartPay 2 contract, the Department of Interior utilized an integrated card solution that combined purchase, travel, and fleet cards within a single card. Under the GSA SmartPay 3 program, Interior decided to implement the Travel Tax Advantage card as a follow-on to the integrated card. DOI has set up the card so that almost all non-meals and incidental expenses automatically divert to centrally billed transactions, meaning that DOI gets the charges directly to the government. These expenses include hotels, airfare, and rental car charges. Meals and other incidentals are charged as individually billed transactions. They will bill directly to the cardholder, and the cardholder is responsible for payment of those items. DOI has the ability to transfer transactions that are incorrectly billed as an IBA or CBA based on an inaccurate merchant category code. For example, the traveler may eat a meal in a hotel restaurant while on TDY. If the MCC shows up as a hotel instead of a restaurant, it may be inaccurately labeled as a CBA expense when it should be an IBA expense. Upon review of the statement, DOI can transfer that transaction to an IBA expense since it was a payment for a meal. The cardholder is able to see transactions that they are responsible to pay, which are IBA transactions, and those that they are not, which are CBA transactions. They are listed under separate headings so that the cardholder can delineate their payment responsibilities. DOI has realized some key benefits from implementation of the Travel Tax Advantage accounts. First, they are able to receive tax exemption at the point of sale for hotel, airfare, and rental car transactions. This saves the agency a lot of money that would have been paid to taxes, since very few state tax regulations provide tax exemption for IBA travel cards. By placing these transactions all under CBAs, DOI avoids tax payments on these transactions. The second main benefit is that DOI sees lower travel card delinquency amounts than if all of the transactions were placed on IBA accounts. The bulk of expenditures on travel include payments for hotels, airfare, and rental cars. DOI can avoid the risk of cardholders making late payments on those expenditures by moving them all to CBA and having government pay for those items directly and on time. Finally, the card is easily recognizable. The GSA SmartPay Smart Tax Vendor Guide is available to show vendors the look and specific numbering sequences for all GSA SmartPay cards, including the Travel Tax Advantage card. This guide is available in PDF format on our website and is accessible to vendors and government personnel alike. ePayables are new offerings under the GSA SmartPay 3 Master Contract. These solutions provide your agency with the capability to make payments directly to a specific supplier through an established relationship. For example, many of us pay bills through online bill payment by setting up the ability for your bank to send money to various providers, for example, your cable company, or the ability for the company to pull money from your account at a set time, such as on a monthly basis. We often don't write a lot of checks to pay out the bills these days in our personal lives. This is the type of relationship that an ePayables solution establishes. How can ePayables benefit your agency? In the simplest of terms, ePayables can help your agency reduce payment times, increase detailed transaction data, and provide you with new payment mechanisms to expand your payment options. The ePayables solutions offered under GSA SmartPay contract include straight-through processing, buyer-initiated payments, and supplier-initiated payments. Let's take a few minutes to learn about how each of the offered ePayables work. Supplier-initiated payments are the process of electronically connecting suppliers or other merchants to the government's supply chain and back-end payment systems. This type of ePayables allows a supplier to enroll with a GSA SmartPay contractor bank in order to connect to an agency's supply chain or bank-end payment system. The GSA SmartPay contractor bank prepares the invoices and processes approved invoices on behalf of the agency. The contractor bank remits payment to the supplier or merchant utilizing agency payment files for disbursement against designated accounts for specific transactions. This chart provides you with a visual flow of how a supplier-initiated payment would work. First, you work with your banks to sign up the supplier. This occurs before they can invoice you and establishes a direct payment relationship. Once they are enrolled and any other items such as contractual documents are in place, the supplier will provide the product or service and invoice your agency for that product or service. The invoice is for the agency payment. However, it gets sent through the bank's electronic access system to the agency. As with normal invoicing procedures, your agency will then approve the invoice in your financial system, and the approval or transaction will get processed by your bank and sent to the supplier. Your agency is notified through the electronic access system that the bank has paid the supplier, and you then reconcile the transaction. Basically, the merchant invoices, the agency approves, and the payment is made, all while the bank works behind the scenes to move the process along. Now that we see how supplier-initiated payments work, let's go through a potential way that your agency might utilize this offering. I bet many of us have recurring payments within your agency, such as monthly subscription services, or make regular payments to the same merchant. This is one example of how an agency could easily replace a traditional invoicing or financial payment setup with supplier-initiated payments. As we discussed in the previous slide, your agency could work with the bank to sign up the vendor. Let's use a trade magazine subscription as an example. You would receive the invoice for the subscription services on a set date every month. Maybe you set it up to receive the invoice on the first calendar day of every month. The payment is made to the company through the bank, and the agency can see and reconcile the transaction in the EAS. The next ePayable that we would like to discuss is buyer-initiated payments. Buyer-initiated payments are a type of transaction that require no action by the supplier or the merchant, no point-of-sale terminals or other hardware or software required to receive payment. This is offered as a Tier 2 solution under the GSA SmartPay Master Contract. This means that the bank has the option to provide it to the agencies. It is available for all business lines. Note that you should make sure to check your agency's task order to see if it has been included as an option for you. This chart provides you with a visual flow of how a buyer-initiated payment would work. In a buyer-initiated payment, your agency orders the product or service from the supplier and receives an invoice directly from the supplier as usual. Instead of pushing the payment directly to the supplier, however, the payment data file is sent to your contractor bank to process. The money is funded by the agency into your account, created by the bank, and the vendor directly charges the account for the payment. The payment transaction is processed, and the detailed data is available for the agency. Basically, the merchant or supplier invoices, the buyer, which is your agency, approves the payment is authorized, and the funds are transferred. Does your agency deal with complex invoicing processes with large vendors for large dollar values? Invoicing for these types of products or services can be very complex and time-consuming. Although complex, the opportunity for increased refunds is very great given the dollar value of these types of transactions. Buyer-initiated payments, an ePayable solution under the master contract, may be a potential solution that allows an agency to control the frequency of payments to the vendor while simultaneously streamlining payment processes and reducing operational costs. Like supplier-initiated payments, buyer-initiated payments require that the agency and contractor bank work with the vendor to get them enrolled. Once enrolled, your agency will be able to initiate purchasing supplies from the vendor through the EAS and will provide payment once supplies are received. The agency controls the frequency of purchases and payments to the vendor. This solution is beneficial when you have more frequent back and forth purchasing and payments to a single vendor, which may add up to a larger dollar value. A practical use example might be a federal agency that requires ongoing purchasing of lab supplies and equipment has a contractual agreement in place with a single vendor for those items. Instead of initiating a new financial document for every purchase, the agency establishes a buyer-initiated payment relationship with the vendor by enrolling them in the program with the assistance of their bank and their contracting office. Now the agency can initiate a request for lab supplies as frequently as needed through the EAS, receive the supplies from the vendor, and make the payment directly to the vendor through the EAS. This saves the agency and the vendor time and money by streamlining the purchasing and payment processes. Straight-through processing is an automated payment transaction processing service where the agency sends the payment file directly to the merchant's acquiring institution. That's the financial institution or bank that they utilize for their business. The networks, Visa or MasterCard, process the payment automatically on behalf of the agency and the GSA SmartPay contractor bank and deposit the funds directly into the merchant's bank account. This is offered as a Tier 2 solution under the SmartPay master contract. This means that the bank has the option to provide it to the agencies. It is available for all business lines. Note that you should make sure to check your agency's task order to see if it has been included as an option for you. This strategic payment solution is fairly new in the commercial industry and is continuing to evolve. This chart provides you with a visual flow of how straight-through processing would work. In a straight-through processing transaction, the agency makes a transaction and sends payment instructions to their bank, which authorizes the payment. Then the payment service provider, in our case it would be Visa or MasterCard, validates the payment. Next, the supplier or merchant's bank authorizes and confirms receipt of the payment and sends a notification back to Visa or MasterCard. Finally, the bank confirms payment and lets the agency know. This chart looks great, but how can my agency benefit? The biggest benefit to STP is that there is no manual intervention from including your agency. This process is completely automated and doesn't require any manual input from the agency. It's seamless. STP works well in situations where a merchant or supplier doesn't accept traditional cards for payment, and the pricing will be consistent over time. For example, let's say you have a fixed price contract in place for consulting services to a small business. You pay the exact same amount every month. You could set up an STP process to send that exact same amount to the vendor monthly without having to do any manual intervention. You could simply check each month on the date of payment that the amount was sent to the business. STP can also help your agency pay small businesses more quickly compared to traditional payment setups. This is a great way to attract small businesses and meet your small business goals. As always, ensure that you review your agency's policy regarding invoicing and payments before implementing STP or any strategic payment solution. ePayable solutions are continually evolving within the payments sector. As ePayables become more available commercially, there will be more opportunities for agencies to expand their programs and utilize these solutions. Agencies should review the GSA SmartPay master contract thoroughly to understand the functionality and pricing related to ePayable offerings, and also communicate with their GSA SmartPay contractor bank to learn more about the specific ePayables currently offered. For example, supplier-initiated payments are a Tier 1 offering, which means that all awarded contracts must make it available to the agencies. The other two ePayable offerings, however, are Tier 2 offerings. This means that your contractor bank may or may not currently offer them under the master contract or your agency's task order. Now that you have a better understanding of the wide variety of offerings, your next step should be to take a look at payment areas within your agency where you can capture additional spend through the program. Ways that you can dive deeper into reviewing potential opportunities include the GSA SmartPay Savings Calculator. Our office has developed a savings calculator that allows agencies to put theoretical spend into various categories in order to assess potential increased refund opportunities. The GSA SmartPay Savings Calculator is designed to enhance and support leadership payment decision-making by visualizing the benefits of utilizing GSA SmartPay payment products in the areas of contracts, grants, and local travel subsidy spend. The tool provides estimates for potential savings based on increased utilization of the program. Account payable reviews. An AP file review is a process where the GSA SmartPay contractor bank reviews an agency's payment files in order to find potential areas where payment solutions can be leveraged. In order to receive an AP file review, your agency must provide financial and payment information to the contractor bank. The bank will then provide a full report outlining areas where your agency may be able to capture additional spend through your program and/or gain efficiencies by utilizing offered strategic payment solutions. Your agency can utilize this information and work with the bank to implement new payment strategies within your program. Did you know that on average, the federal government spends approximately $600 billion in contract payments annually? Imagine if you moved just a portion of that spend to GSA SmartPay Strategic Payment Solutions. Contract payments is one of the largest areas of opportunities to move payments and greatly increase your agency's refunds. And this concludes the presentation portion. We are going to just in a minute go live to take any questions that you might have. Just wanted to leave you with some resources and some links that might be of assistance as you are looking to expand your payment options within your program. If you have any questions after the forum, please feel free to contact me directly via email, and I am happy to chat with you more about these opportunities. In addition, you can always reach out to our customer support email listed on this slide. Thank you very much for your attention. This concludes our session on strategic payment solutions.